Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm ready, Kumar.
We'll start.
Yeah, we can start.
All right. So, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the event Demystifying Research Internships, conducted by Women Inclusivity Network in IT Trichy. So, we hope all of you are safe and sound at home, and we can go ahead with the event for today. So, the speakers we have today are all final year students who are recipients of prestigious national and international research internship programs. So our first speaker we have is Jayamathangi, final year EEE student, who is a recipient of both Mitacs Global Research Internship and DAAD-WISE Fellowship. Uh, then we have our next speaker, Karthika, final year civil engineering student. She's the recipient of both NTU-India Connect Research Intern Program and the Summer Research Fellowship Program, commonly known as SRFP. And lastly, myself, Kimaya Suryarao, final year meta student, recipient of NTU-India Connect Research Program. So, hello everyone. The agenda for the talk will be mostly the FAQs, and we'll be focusing on the questions which we have received through the Google form. And at the end, we have an interactive session with all the three speakers. So the very motto of the event is to have a lot of interaction and clarify all your queries at a one-stop location. So please feel free. If at all you have any follow-up queries during each of the slides, you can just put them in the chat box and we'll answer your queries. So once again, I welcome all of you and we're good to go with the event. So one of the most common queries which we received were regarding the resume or the CV. So people wanted to know tips of how to make the resume stronger and how to make it more attractive for a research intern profile. So we'll first deal with that question and then we can go ahead with the other questions. So regarding your resume is nothing but your spokesperson. So that has to contain all the information which you'd like to share with a person who is reading your resume. Just consider it to be your representative because not every time are you allowed to speak for yourself. In the beginning, it's always those two length of pages which are going to speak, and it's going to speak about your achievements, your skills, your internship experience, your position of responsibilities, everything. So I think by now all of you must be knowing the general flow, but I'll still just elaborate it for you. First, we always start with our personal details, go ahead with the educational qualification, which is generally in a tabular format, having your 10th, 12th, and your BTech CGPA till the latest semester you've done. We then move to the internship experiences or the projects which you have carried out, and then there is a place where you write about your technical skills or any course which you have undertaken, and then you write about your position of responsibilities. It can be in school latest to 10th. We suggest not to go below that. Always something about 10th, 12th is recommended, and about the position of responsibilities in your institute. And later we go on to your extracurricular achievements. It could be in cultural activities, sport activities, or any volunteering activities as well. So when it comes to your internship experience or even your position of responsibilities, where you're supposed to speak something at length, nobody's like we always have to take into consideration that nobody's interested for a long story out there. So make use of action words of your achievements and your experience. So just instead of just telling that you've worked with a team of 20 people and all of you have done something to achieve this particular goal, you can just say brainstormed to ideate whatever your idea was, and which resulted in successfully achieving the result. So it's in one sentence that you have summarized your entire project or your entire internship duration of whatever you have done. So you can use words like brainstormed, ideated, conceptualized, executed, meant or achieved, etc. And yeah, moving on to your achievements, always make sure that you write the number of students who have participated in total, because there are a lot of competitions which we may have attended, but not everybody knows the impact of those competitions or how big those competitions are. So just for everyone to realize that importance and the significance of the competition which you've attended and you have won something there, make sure you write how many students have participated in that competition, and then that you were among the top 10 or the top 3 students who qualified for that, or won medals or won any other thing in that particular competition. So it's only then that that impact is going to get created. Then we have making an effort to orient your CV content to the research side. Now, to some of you, it may sound a little ambiguous at this stage, but what I mean is that most of us, at least like in this pandemic period, have only done remote internships. Very few probably must have done an in-plant training in your first year, or an internship where you physically went and did a project like a hands-on experiment. But that's not like not everybody will have something about like that to write in their resume. So even if it's like an in-plant training which you might have attended in your first year or in your second year winter vacation, make it a point to write it in your CV, because you never know what is going to make a difference in your CV regarding that. Okay, so whenever you're writing about your in-plant training, try to rephrase it in such a manner that it depicts your curiosity to learn. It depicts qualities such as you are a very inquisitive person, inclined towards research, and that you always have a continuous zeal for learning. You're always looking for new things around you. So that's how you can show the research side of yours, even if it's a physical or a in-plant training. And then the importance to highlight your knowledge of engineering softwares and coding languages or other technical skills. Most of them might have written this in your CV, but just in case you might have missed, please do recheck your CVs for all of this, because this is something which is very important. At times, even if your CGPA is a little less, but you have like really good knowledge of engineering softwares like MATLAB or ANSYS, it does give you an edge over the other candidates. So please note this point. And yeah, then we can move to the general CV pointers. So most of us do have this misconception that writing about extracurricular activities may not work well in a research-oriented profile, but that's not at all true, guys, because probably what must have worked in my case is the extracurricular activities. And believe me, these do enhance your profile, because whenever you're applying for any research internship program, it's not that people are only interested in your technical skills. They also look for non-technical skills or soft skills. And there is like we haven't seen any CV which contains information like, okay, I'm excellent at communication skills, or I have really good team working skills. Nobody writes about that. Rather, you don't have a certificate which shows how credible your skills are, or your communication skills are, or your critical thinking ability is. So all of this gets a chance to depict, or you can exhibit all of these qualities only when you write about your extracurricular activities or your positions of responsibilities. It could be by being a part of a team. It could be a sports team or a fest team or the clubs in our institute. So please make sure you write about it. And also, whenever you're writing that you are a member of this particular club in the institute, do mention the skills, or at least certain instances where you'll be able to highlight those skills of yours. Like it could be a leadership skill, or it could be team working skills or problem solving skills. All of these are like really highly sought over skills out there in the research profile as well. And then, yeah, definitely your volunteering and social activities, your sport and other curricular activities. do give an overall picture of you to the person who is going to select you, or is rather reading your CV as well, because your volunteering activities try to show you how entirely you are as a person, and your sport activities kind of give a different aspect to your personality. It shows your sportsman spirit as well, and that you're always trying to learn something and you never get bogged down. So these are really small things, but they do matter when it comes to those one or two words in your CV which are to be highlighted. And then we have the languages known. Now, even this does make a difference. It's not mandatory though, but knowing a foreign language is always good if you're able to write about it in your CV, that you have at least a minimum proficiency in that language, that you can manage basic speaking. It probably may give you an edge over certain projects if you are applying for foreign internships. But that's not necessary. Although if you know one, do write about it. And yeah, the others are like really key points, but simple. You have to keep your CV simple, effective, and impactful to read. Make sure it doesn't go beyond 2 pages. And like, see, we may feel that we have like a lot to write in our CV, but remember the person who is going to read your CV. He or she has like thousands of CVs out there to read, and what is your motto is to make work as much simpler as you can do for him or her. So try to maintain or try to grab that person's attention for at least those two length of pages of what you're writing. So try to make things simpler for him by highlighting words maybe in bold and italic, and only keep the most relevant information in your CV. You cannot like write a story out there. You have other documents like an SOP where you can elaborate on one particular instance, but that's not what a CV is meant for. And then you have obviously proper formatting and highlighting the most important stuff. Now, formatting may seem like a really childish thing at this age of ours, but it is very important, because most often we tend to neglect the fact that a CV only has to have the information which we want to give to the person. But remember one point, that if your CV doesn't look good in the very first instance, nobody is going to take the effort to spend their 2-3 minutes reading your CV. So make your CV in such a way that it's properly aligned. It has a uniform structure throughout, whether it's a font style, your font size for your headings, or the content below it. And then double check your personal details, especially your email ID. Now, for those, like as for the internships which we approach through the TNP, we cannot write our own email ID. But when it is a research internship which we are individually going to apply for, we can definitely write our own personal email ID. So only provide the email ID which you're going to always check, okay, and your mobile number and your LinkedIn profile as well. Please update your LinkedIn profiles before you are writing or giving that in your resume. And yeah, the last and the most important point, get your CV reviewed by your trusted seniors. Now, the thing is that we always feel that our CV is the best CV and there can be no additions to it, or nobody can suggest something better. But that's not the case. Probably your seniors may just find out one small thing, and that will be a game changer in your entire CV. So that was one such thing for me, especially when I told you about the action words thing. I did have a CV which had 3-4 lines about each of my internship, but that those 3-4 lines were not as such that could capture a person's attention. So one of my seniors just told me about the use of action words, and that probably must have worked wonders for me in my research intern program. So yeah, that was about the resume and your CV. Uh, in case anyone is having any follow-up questions regarding the resume part, we could clarify it now. If not, we can go to the next question.
Hi, I have a doubt.
Yeah.
Okay, so suppose like if my CV gets filled up in one page and I don't have space to add like, volunteering work, so do I make my CV 2 pages just to add the volunteering work, or can I just leave that part out?
No. It's better to write about all what you have. See, the thing is that it doesn't matter even if your second page is like just half filled or one fourth filled, but do make it a point to write about everything what you have done. Why do you want to leave that one thing? Like what we have heard of for international internships or even your highest applications is that volunteering or social activities do count. So make it a point to write about it.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Add something else as well, or space out your information in such a way that everything doesn't look like crumbled in one page. If you just increase your line spacing, probably a lot of more content will go to the other page as well. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Uh, any other question? Karthika, Jaya, could you please check it in the chat box, or we could move to the next question?
I think there are no
The
Can
attendees
you hear me?
can put their questions in the
Yeah,
chat.
like I have a okay, should I type it or should I?
No, you can go ahead.
Okay, like I was just asking, like we'll be having a lot of projects that we did till now. So, like if we have around some 4 to 5 and we have only space to write some 3 or 2, then is there any like criteria or something that we can decide the project?
I'll take it up. Kimaya?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that would entirely depend on the kind of research project that you are aiming for, right? So if you have projects that are not at all related to what you want, as a part of the NTU or Mitacs program, then you don't need to include that in the CV. And also projects, I think max 3 is enough. 4 or 5 is like very rare. People don't include that much, and also students don't get that much time to do 4 to 5 internships. So make sure to include projects that are related to what you want. I hope I answered your question. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we can move to the next query which we received was regarding the SOP tips and that how one should approach the research statement or SOP. So I'd like to call Jaya.
Yep. Thanks, Kimaya. So the next question was about how to draft your statement of purpose. And since DAAD is the only scholarship out of all the 4 that requires you to specifically submit an SOP, I'm going to be talking with respect to DAAD, but feel free to take this as a general guideline as well. So the main questions to address in an SOP with respect to DAAD would be once you get an acceptance from a professor and you're set with your the work that you're going to do, you begin with your SOP, right? So first thing to address is why did you choose to pursue research, and why did you choose the specific area that you chose? And try to introspect about whether there was some incident that shaped your research aspirations, or anything that changed you and molded you to choose this particular area. So think about it when you write down your SOP. It really helps and adds value to your to the story that you are telling, right? And the next question that you should address is why did you choose Germany for your research, and why did you choose the specific university that you're applying to? So these things really help give clarity to your writing, and will be really helpful while while you put forth your SOP together. And these are the 4 main things that you should focus on. And apart from that, do talk about how this scholarship is going to help you go forward in your research journey and at large, during your research career as a whole. So talk about how it's going to be a pivotal opportunity for you. And finally, in the research proposal, that is also a part of the write-up that is asked by DAAD, you basically describe the outline of the project that you're going to take up and the skills that you intend to gain during the internship. So the project you'll already discuss with your German host about the outline of the project and how it's going to go. So your job is to paraphrase it and also add what you want to gain out of it and what you are expected to gain out of it. So yeah. That's it. Any questions? Any follow-up questions on this? I think we can go to the next question. Yeah.
Okay, so we have the third question which asked us about what is the process to get a research internship, and a few other questions which were very much related to it. So we just clubbed it together, which speak about the eligibility criteria such as the CGPA and the projects, the application requirements, and the perks of the research intern program. So here today we'll be speaking about four such programs. First, we'll have Karthika speak about SRFP, Jaya speak about Mitacs GRI. I'll be speaking about NTU-India Connect, and again we have Jaya to speak about DAAD-WISE. So yeah, Karthika, I think you can start.
Thanks, Kimaya. So I'll be talking about Summer Research Fellowship Program, popularly known as SRFP. So what is SRFP? SRFP basically, it's a fellowship program offered by Indian Academy of Sciences. So Indian Academy of Sciences is the governing body of all the IITs and IAC Bangalore. So this fellowship is offered to bright undergraduate students of engineering and science disciplines for a period of 2 months. So if you get accepted, you will be assigned a guide for this period, and also at the end of the internship, you will be issued a fellowship amount. So regarding the timeline, I think most people are confused regarding the timeline because there's no proper site for this. So it usually starts around mid-September and the application ends around late November. Over the years, I've noticed that this is the timeline that is being followed. So you guys can check it out, in the coming weeks, the SRFP portal. And the results will be declared around end of Feb actually. So that also varies according to the edition. So the problem with SRFP is that the site will not be active now. It will only be active during the window of application, that is during like the mid-September. So watch out for it that period. So keep in mind the timeline for this program. Next slide, please. Yeah, the requirements for the application are quite standard as any other research program. Class 10 mark sheet, class 12 mark sheet, university transcript till I guess the 5th semester. I mean, when you're applying, you'll be in your 5th semester, so they'll be asking you for your 5th semester mark sheet as well at the towards January, February as a follow-up mail. So your 5th sem marks also counts. So don't think that it doesn't count. You have to study hard during 5th sem as well. So that is a very important point. Coming to the letter of recommendation, you will be only required one, and you can consult a faculty who taught you or under whom you did a project. Okay. The 5th one is a research statement. It's similar to SOP, but not as intensive and comprehensive as an SOP. So for SRFP, specifically, the research statement should be around 150 to 250 word long, and it should entail your research interests and why you want to work in that particular field. So you have to be very, very specific. You cannot just say I'm interested in this subject. You have to be very specific. What aspect of that subject and what have you done so far to gain knowledge about that subject? So these are very, very important things that you should keep in mind. And the last one is the online application, which requires basic details like name, where you come from, Aadhaar number, and all that. So yeah, next please. So these are certain points that worked out for me, and I hope it works out for you as well. So first one is, many juniors have asked, does CGPA truly matter for programs like this? I have gotten a decent CGPA, so I'm not really sure about what works for other candidates who have low CGPA, but I've talked to people who have gotten low CGPA and still, got accepted into this program. So it really doesn't matter if you're able to compensate it with really good courses that you've done or projects that you've done. Even on campus, it's well to go. I mean, you are on the right track. So you don't need to worry that much. 8 plus would do for this program. I'm not talking about other programs like DAAD. An 8 plus would do for SRFP. Coming to second point, yeah, stress on your research projects in the write-up and resume. So when you're talking about what you've done in the summer, perhaps during second year, make sure you write the same thing in the write-up as well as resume. So don't, omit stuff. So because the committee is going to be reviewing both, okay? So make sure to have both the projects in the write-up and resume. In the write-up, you can be a bit more elaborative of the project. Coming to the third point, getting an LOR from a faculty in the research field that you're interested in. Okay, so I've like gotten questions saying that what if you can't get a letter from such faculty? Then it's all right. Just make sure that faculty has taught you or at least know you personally. So while the faculty is writing the LOR, make sure that he includes points that that the committee can say that okay, this person knows the candidate and knows the potential of the candidate. So get it from a faculty who knows you personally. If you're not able to get it from a faculty who's in the research field that you're interested in. So that's the third point. Fourth point is get your write-up proofread by someone who got the fellowship before or any trusted source. So this is just a last minute step, I would say, just to make sure that your, the flow of your write-up and everything is coherent, so that people who've gotten the fellowship can identify errors that people who haven't gotten cannot. So this is just a last minute step. It's not mandatory, but I would recommend it. I have done it, so I would recommend it. So yeah, that's all regarding SRFP. Are there any doubts?
I see that there's a question about the Mitacs SOP. I'll take it up after I cover the Mitacs part. Yeah.
Okay, so if we don't have any follow-up questions at this stage, probably we could, and if you get any questions later, you can always address it at the end. So we'll move with the Mitacs application.
Yep. So the next internship program we'll be covering today is the Mitacs Globalink program. So it's basically a fully funded 12-week research internship opportunity in Canada. And the perks of this internship include an eligibility to get a Mitacs graduate fellowship after you finish your undergrad studies, and if you want to go and pursue your master's in Canada. And you also get to network with a lot of people through Mitacs-led events, and it's a great way of cultural exchange, and it'll be a great experience. Getting exposed to the research culture in Canada. So next slide. So I'll quickly go through the eligibility and the documents required. So the eligibility criteria for applying is usually a CGPA of greater than 8.5, but this number keeps varying every year. So do check what the criteria is this time. If I'm not wrong, it's 75% in percentage, which is specified. So make sure you convert your CGPA to percentage and then check your eligibility. And one important thing to note is CGPA is not a very important factor at all in Mitacs. So that's great, right? So everybody should definitely apply. All research aspirants should apply to this program. And the documents required are the transcript showing your grades up till the 4th semester, a CV, though Mitacs provides a guideline or a template that should be followed. It is not a rule that you should stick to it. You can follow your own template as well, but this time Mitacs does recommend that you follow the same format. So do check, if you could actually follow the Mitacs format, it would be great. And the next thing is recommendation letters. So Mitacs needs a minimum of 1 and a maximum of 2 letters. So it's always better to give 2 recommendation letters. It just adds, strength to your application. Thirdly, the next requirement is 3 write-ups. So we have to talk about our notable achievements, general description of our research goals, background knowledge, experience, and skills. So I'd like to take up this question by Nishant, where it's related to this write-up, right? So for the SOP, do we try to use as many keywords, or do we try to list out why we like the area of research? So yes, so given that you have a word limit this time, I'd suggest that you just talk about why you like the area in like 2 lines, and then jump straight into answering all the questions that are asked. So talking about your general description, your background knowledge, experience, and skills. So just write it that way. So that's what I did, and it's the best way to save space, right? And you need not even I think write complete sentences. You can use bullet points and try to incorporate as much as you can within the word limit. So that's what I would suggest. Yeah. And apart from this, general application details, hours of research done, such info is required, which has to be filled. It's a pretty straightforward process. The entire application itself is really straightforward. Next slide. Yeah, so this is just an overview of the timeline that Mitacs usually follows. So it starts by August to mid-September. This year's 22nd of September is the deadline. So you need to complete your application, including choosing your projects, 7 projects maximum, and you submit it by 22nd. And then you have an application a status check where they check your CV to ensure that you're eligible, and you get a notification whether you're still in the you're still a candidate or whether you're rejected. So that will be done by mid-November to end of November, and this is the same time when you have the first round of interviews happening. So professors will contact you based on the projects that you chose, and you'll have interviews, and the first round results come out by mid-December. And the same process repeats for a second cycle, where the people who have already received a project match in the first round cannot participate. So it's for the next set of people. And finally, the confirmation of the award is done by April. And one important thing to note is that in the beginning, when you fill your projects, the order of the projects does not matter. The ranking doesn't matter at that point. Only after your first round of interviews, you will be asked to re-rank your projects, and that is the rank that will be considered for your final project match with your professor. Yeah, next slide. Yeah, so these are some tips that that are recommended. So first thing, go through all the guidelines mentioned carefully on the website before you start, because there are some details that people tend to miss. Like for example, this time I think the need to follow the same template that Mitacs suggests is more than last time, because apparently it's easier for professors to kind of skim through your application that way. So I'm not sure again. So I highly recommend that you read through the application details well before you start applying. And the next step is the CV check. So the first thing that happens after you apply is your CV check. So make sure your CV is drafted well and is accurate, right? And the next thing is to try to tailor your write-ups to suit a majority of projects that you have chosen. So if a project, in the description, every project has a description where they say what are the skills required and student responsibilities, etc. So make sure that you go through all the skills first, and it might be technical or software or soft skills as well. So soft skills like team management, or you should be a team player, you should have good communication skills, you should be able to perform a literature survey, things like that. right? So make sure you include all those skills in your write-up so that it's easy for professors to see that you have these skills, and that's what makes them, prefer you, right? And finally, Mitacs doesn't allow you to directly contact the professors. So you should wait for the professor to contact you in case you are chosen by the professor to, go forward with the next round, that is the interview. So you're not supposed to contact them. And if you are found to do it, you might be, your candidature might be cancelled. So be careful. Do not contact professors personally, or outside of the Mitacs program. Yeah. So points to, so this is an important thing to consider when you apply for Mitacs. So you're asked to choose 7 projects according to your research interests. So how to shortlist the 7 projects, right? So when you look at the database, you all might have noticed that it has around 15 to 20,000 projects, and you need to make sure that you apply the right keywords to select the project, because try to apply all kinds of combinations of keywords to get the projects that you are looking for. And if you have a very big list in the beginning, these are the 4 things that you see in order to shortlist them and come up with a top 7 list. So the first one is your interest towards the project. So even if your experience is not totally aligned with your current interests, you should still go forward with seeking a project which you want to direct your research interest towards, right? So sometimes it might not be completely aligned, but you should give it a try. So your interest towards the project matters. And the second thing is to check if you're eligible to apply for the project. So check the description, check the skills required and additional skills required, and see if you meet at least some of the basic skills that are required by the project. And finally, look at the professor. So how if is the professor's H index really high? Is the professor's research outcome really high? So this would mean that many students would want to work under that professor, and the competition might be higher. So you should learn to strike a balance between the quality of the research project and the professor's profile as well, right? And finally, a not so important factor but worth considering is the university's ranking. So if you are confused about which 2 projects to take, and the only difference is the ranking of the university or the reputation of the university, you can go forward with choosing the one that has greater reputation. So for me, the preference order for all these 4 points was in the decreasing order. So but feel free to change the order. Feel free to give more weightage to a particular point if you think that's important for you. But it really, there's no formula, right? So basically the only thing you should think about is to to think from the professor's point of view, and see if you would be a good fit for the project, and see if the professor would be willing to choose you. So if you apply to such projects, you are sure to be called for an interview, and it may go well after that. So try to keep all these points in mind while you shortlist the projects. Yeah. And with this, we're done with the Mitacs explanation. So next, Kimaya will be talking about the NTU-India Connect. Over to you, Kimaya.
Yeah, thank you, Jaya. Before that, if there are any other questions regarding Mitacs, I think we could get them answered at this stage. If there's anything in
Hello.
the chat box, yeah.
Yeah, actually, in Mitacs website, it says that the recommendation letter should be from professor who has, supervised their work. So, does it mean only the like if the professor we have done intern on the professor, or like who taught us also counts?
Yeah. So first thing, try to get an LOR from a professor who has supervised you for a project, right? That's always the best. But if you haven't undertaken a solid project, or if there are such problems, you can always try to get an LOR from a prof who has taken a course for you. But the first LOR, generally it's better if you take it from a project supervisor.
Okay, so if I have one such professor who I can get, and like I've done intern under, So
Okay.
is it enough that I submit just one LOR, or would it be safe that I get one from him and one from some professor who has taught me a course?
Yeah, that would be better.
Okay.
Taking another one from a professor who has taught you a course, that would be good. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. One more question. There
Yeah.
is actually, separate essay to mention our achievements.
Mhm.
Is it okay that I don't have anything worth mentioning in college time, like only from 10 to 12 in school?
Yeah, that's fine.
Also,
That's perfectly fine. You can mention achievements that you've done in school. Just make sure you mention the year, right?
okay.
So I mentioned things that were that I did back in 2017 as well. So 2015. I mean, I did it till 2015. So like past 5 to 6 years, that works. But make sure you
Okay.
include all the latest achievements first. And if you feel you want to include little more, then you can go
And
ahead.
does it only include the awards and scholarships we have got, or the achievements general term, like say you
Right.
did something good in a club, or
Right. You're free to include that, but since you're applying for a research internship, make sure that you focus more on your academic, if possible, research achievements. More importantly, academic achievements, scholarships, or anything that you're maybe you've done well in your Olympiads and things like that. That add a lot of value. Those things. So try to include those, and if you still have a lot of space, then you can go ahead with your club achievements as well. But if for a research oriented application, I think you should focus more on the academic part.
thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Hi, I have a doubt. So, do the professors also read the LOR, or is it only the Mitacs selection committee?
The professor also reads the LOR. The professor mainly he or she is the main person who's going to read the LOR. So they get the entire application. They get your application as a whole for that project, and it is very important. Yeah, LOR will be read by the professor.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, the interviews will be for each project which we choose, or like based on the priorities.
No, so when you get called for the interviews, the professors don't know what rank you have given to that particular project, right? So they just get your application, and if they find that you are good, and if they find that you can be chosen, they'll call you for an interview, and and that way. So it's not, you may not get called for all the projects. You may be called for some of them. So based on that, you can re-rank your projects later. So once your interviews are done, they'll give you around like 15 days time to re-rank your projects. And at the same time, the professor also gets to re-rank the choice of the students. So it's always good to pay attention to what they say during the interview. So if they're really looking forward to hosting you, if they say something like that, it really means that they're gonna rank you at one of higher positions. So if you also rank that particular project at a higher position, the chance of a match is very high. So you'll be assured of a project match by December. That is the first round. So these are things you pay attention to during the interviews. Hope that answered your question.
Like, how will be those interview? How was the interview experience?
Right. So in the interviews, basically, what they focus on is your application, and be ready with to talk about your research experiences, and be ready to be questioned about your CV credentials, and also be ready to ask questions about their lab. And they usually, what happens is, it's like a two-way communication. For the interviews that I had, it was more about the professor also talking about his lab and the research that their group does. And it was also about testing me on some fundamentals of the area that the project deals with. It was not really complicated, just the simple things. And they also tend to kind of help you out, right? It's like a learning experience. So be ready to defend and talk about whatever your application mentions about you, and do a good research of the lab that you have applied to, and the professor, and the research background of the entire lab. Yeah, that should do. Any more questions?
Yeah.
Hello.
Yes.
Actually, there are two options in Mitacs, right? One is the professor, they themselves will draft the LOS and submit, and the other one is like we have to draft, get it approved by the prof, and we have to submit, right? So,
Right,
which one
right.
of these two do you recommend?
I would highly recommend that you tell your prof to submit it, right? Because that's what I did for both my recommendations, and it's always a good practice because an LOR is something that a professor writes, and it is an untold rule that the confidentiality matters in an LOR. So it's always better if you tell your professor to upload it from their side.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Hello, I have a question.
Yes.
If we did get a match in the first round of the results, does it guarantee that we will get the scholarship?
Yes, it does. If you get a project match, it means that you're going to get an award. But you need to wait for it because the second round has to go on. And if you do not accept the match at that point, you will be disqualified from the entire process. So that's the only chance you get. You either accept it or you reject it. So.
Okay. Thanks.
Any more questions? Oh yeah, so I see a question in the chat. How do we get the professor's H index? Yeah, you can visit their Google Scholar page, and you can do some background check, like the recent papers that they've published, the research that they're focusing on in current times, right? And also, yeah, you can get information like the total number of citations and the H index of the professor there. Is there any possibility of projects getting cancelled due to COVID? Yes, last time it was a problem. Many of the projects got cancelled, especially in the areas of DL, deep learning, hardware design, things like that. But we really don't know why they get cancelled. It's because the professor is no longer able to supervise that project, maybe. So there's no rule, there's no way to predict it. There's no not that we know of. So there is a possibility, yes.
Like for this application cycle, will it be the offline internship or online internship?
Yes, that's we have no idea. So last year we all were also hopeful that it will be an offline internship, but only in Feb this year, Mitacs announced that it's going to be a completely virtual internship. So we have no idea what's going to happen. It all depends on the situation. And talking about that, it's kind of better if you can ask your professor if the project can be done in a virtual mode in case something like that happens, because we weren't prepared for it, and many people couldn't pursue their projects because it was like a purely experimental project. So though even if your professor specializes only in experimental studies, just if you're called for an interview, just ask him or her about whether you also consider a virtual internship, if it's possible, right? It's good to know that beforehand. So, but let's hope that you all get to go to Canada next year, because it's already been 2 cycles of Mitacs either getting cancelled or happening virtually. Yeah, I think we have another question. Right. Kimaya and Karthika, would you guys like to take this question up?
Actually, my screen is being shared, so could you just read out the
Oh,
question?
yeah, sure. If I'm applying for multiple interns like Mitacs, SRFP, and so on, I should be getting multiple LORs. Will a professor be patient enough to give us those many LORs, or is there any other possible way?
Actually, when I think both of us can answer this question. When it came to my LORs, I did get it from one professor only. So yeah, pretty much the professors are kind enough to provide us multiple LORs. Not an issue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so coming to my case, I had only one professor who I regularly contacted for the LOR. because there was only one research field that I was focusing on. So it would be better if you inform him or her beforehand that you'll be contacting them frequently for LORs. That would do.
And in my case, I had applied to only Mitacs that required 2 LORs. DAAD last year did not require an LOR because usually the LOR has to be sent by post to the DAAD office by the professor. And this was not possible because of COVID. So I had to ask, I had only 2 LORs. So I think, yeah. So any other questions?
Like, can we, if all are the virtual internships, can we have simultaneous internships too?
Well, okay. Well, it all depends. So we have no idea what's going to happen next year. So if there are no rules from either sides, that there's no rule that you should not be doing another internship, then it's perfect. You can even do 2 virtual internships if needed and if possible.
So for me, since I've gotten 2 interns, I was able to manage both because they were virtual. So if it was not virtual, it would not have been possible, right? So I would recommend you doing both the interns. That would enhance your profile also very much.
Yeah. But one thing you could do is to make sure that the duration of both the internships have minimum overlap, so that you can focus on both, at the same time not compromise on the quality of the work you're doing for both. Yeah. Any more questions?
Like, how many people that a professor can take, like, for the internship?
You mean for Mitacs?
Yes, for Mitacs.
Well, there is no fixed rule, but I know that professors do take around 3 to 4 students depending on the project. If it's a very big project and requires a lot of students, then yeah, that's the case. But in my case, I was the only student working under that professor. So it all varies, depends on the project and the area as well. So. I think we can.
Yeah, we'll go ahead.
Yeah.
All right. So, hi everyone. I'll be speaking about NTU-India Connect Research Internship Program. So, let's start with what it is and why should one apply. Just like any other research internship program, it's a 2 to 6 month long research program, which you get to do at NTU Singapore. And one really amazing opportunity to work on some exciting projects under the guidance of those professors. Let's just hope COVID doesn't play a spoil sport for your batch. You'll definitely then get to travel to Singapore, and all your living expenses at Singapore will be taken care of. And like any other international internship or research internship, we can say you'll get a multicultural experience here as well. And since NTU does have a lot of international students, and moreover, a lot of other students from other institutes of India get selected there as well. So you get to connect to people of similar interests, and a good bonding and a really good multicultural experience is promoted here. Regarding the application process for NTU India Connect, it's again pretty much straightforward. You have a portal to go make your account. And the very first thing you get to do after filling the general details, which include your name and the institute you're studying in, your 10th marks, your 12th marks, your CGPA, BTech CGPA, you then get to select the internship period which you'll be applying to. So the research program is generally offered thrice in a year. You have the spring term, the summer term, and the fall term. And for the third year students who are aiming for a summer internship, it's the 2 month summer term which works. The next process is shortlisting your research titles. So unlike Mitacs, the website doesn't provide like that many extensive list of projects here, but it's a good number of projects from which you can select from various departments. And for Mitacs, you had 7 projects. Here at NTU, you have to select 3 projects. One important difference is that there you had a chance to re-rank your projects after one round, but that's not the case with NTU. So be very mindful of the top 3 projects which you're going to put, and also check the preference order which should be putting it in, because that's something which cannot be changed once the application is submitted. Then you have like a regular documentation process, which includes your resume, your official transcript. So it will be in the 5th semester of your BTech that you'll be applying. So you'll have the transcript which provides your grades only till your 4th semester. So in the other follow-up mails from NTU, they'll ask you for your 5th semester GPA as well, but that's at a later stage. During the application process, you submit it only till the 4th semester. And in their portal, they have a section to upload the letter of recommendation. Now, this is something different. So the document which they refer to as the letter of recommendation is actually our no objection certificate. So you'll have to contact the Office of International Affairs of our institute, and they'll provide you a document which states that this student is studying in our institute in this particular department, and we don't have any issue with him or her pursuing an internship at NTU Singapore. So you'll just have to mail your name and your roll number to the office, and you'll get the letter. And then you have 2 academic referee letters. That is what we call our LOR. Finally, you have an NTU checklist where you get to write again your personal details and the same list of projects, like the rank of the projects in order or in your preference order, as what you have uploaded in your application portal as well. Along with that, you have a section for your achievements, where you can just write about your academic achievements, and if at all you have carried out some project, or if you're lucky enough to have like a publication at this stage, you can also provide the link to that. And yeah, the last and most important thing is the passport, guys. So this is very important. It's in your application process only that they will ask you to upload your passport as well. So if you're not having one, please do apply for it at the earliest, and also check its validity. It has to be valid at least till the internship program ends. So keep it ensure it's valid till 2022 May or June. But it's safe to not be like on such a cut side. It's always good to have it longer. And the last is your acceptance stage. That's something like which is really exciting. Let's hope you get to travel to Singapore if you get selected through this program, and you get to meet a lot of new people from other top institutes of our country, and develop international connections. It could be with the professor, with their research scholars, or with other students of NTU as well. And during the internship, I'd like to share that it's good to freely give all your ideas to your supervisor and be really interactive with your research colleagues as well, because you meet your supervisor only weekly once, or at max weekly twice, but it's your research colleagues whom you'll actually be interacting with for the entire duration of your internship. So you have to be really interactive with them, help them, take their help as well. Don't be shy for that. And yeah, keep track of your progress and report it regularly. The thing is that we do quite a lot of work in the 2 months, but if you start documenting it all at the 7th week of your internship, it really gets difficult to go back and remember what you've actually done in your first and your second week. So it's always good to have a weekly report which you can just accumulate it, combine it for your final report submission. And yeah, all of these internship programs do give really good research experience to you, probably even a publication. Now the only thing which you need to remember in your application process is to keep your deadlines in check. And one point regarding your research titles, I think it's pretty much the same process as what Jaya has already elaborated for Mitacs. Probably the only thing which you won't have to do is university selection. The rest 3 points you can follow here as well. But I would also say that keep your interest towards the project at the highest stage, because it's a long time, guys. You'll have to work. It's like 2 months you'll have to work. So if you're not interested towards the project, you won't be able to put in or give in your 100% for the project. So do read the research title and the description of what the project is about, and then only proceed with it. And don't be very stringent with the department to which you are applying. Like if you are students of metallurgy, there are a lot of projects which might be of your interest, even in the chemical department or even in the mechanical engineering department. So if you take my case, it was regarding materials, but I found that project in the School of Aerospace and Mechanical Engineering. So I just did not go and scrutinize the website for projects under the material science department. I also checked out projects in the chemical department or in the civil department, because there are a lot of projects which might interest you in other departments as well. So yeah, please do check all the departments which are providing the projects. And what generally works to make your application successful is, I would say, a good CGPA, definitely. But it's not the only thing which is going to make your application successful. A CGPA of around 8.5, 8.5, higher than that is always recommended. But since the application is itself such a straightforward application and quite a simple one, I would recommend everybody to apply for it. The second thing is your research experience. So whatever internships you have carried out till now, or the projects which you have worked on till now, try to exhibit what you have learned from all the previous projects. So if you're able to show your problem solving skills or your critical thinking ability or even your literature survey ability, all of that is going to count in your research experience. The third point pretty much is scary. It may scare a lot of people. That is a research interest. That is the very reason I've put it in bracket if you have one, because it's very difficult for a person in your like third year to actually have a clear defined research interest at this stage, because this is when we are actually entering our core field. So that's totally fine if you haven't found out what your domain of interest is. Probably your third year internship is where you might just find. And one reason to apply for all these internships is, even when you go through all the projects, be it your Mitacs portal or your NTU portal or SRFP portal, you at least get to understand what are the different research fields out there. So only when you know everything out in the market will you be able to find which one you like. If not, it's going to be difficult. So don't always look at an application in a way that you have to be successful in that. Definitely, the end result does matter, but look at the bigger picture as well. You'll be able to find out what you actually are interested in when you're looking through all the projects. But if one is actually having a research interest, like till now you have figured it out, at least at this stage, then do mention what your domain of interest is. And the most important part is how you're working to develop towards it. Merely writing that I'm interested in this particular topic is not going to make a difference between your profile and someone else who is having similar credentials. But if you're able to tell them that, okay, I have taken some relevant courses to develop this, or to enhance my knowledge on this domain of interest, or I have done some individual projects, make sure you write about it and present it properly. Also, one thing in your NTU-India Connect portal is that you have a section where you get to add any other relevant documents. So in case you have done an individual project or a review article, it's good to upload it to show that, okay, if I am interested in a particular project, I have done it wholeheartedly and I've given everything to that project. So that's one way of telling about your research orientation. And then, yeah, strong LORs. You need two LORs, an impactful resume, because NTU is not asking for your SOP. So it's only a resume where you get to speak about yourself. So be very mindful of what goes into it. Everything in your resume has to be accurate and precise. And then, a consistent performance does count because since they're asking for your class 10th marks, class 12th marks, and your BTech CGPA, they're looking at how consistent you are as an individual. And your co-curricular and extracurricular activities as well. In your achievement section, you can add them, but it's preferable to add your academic achievements before you write about your extracurricular activities. So pretty completed the NTU part. In case there are any follow-up questions regarding this, you can get them clarified now. Hello.
Is NTU fully funded scholarship, or like we have to pay spend from our pocket also?
The thing is that last year, since we couldn't travel to Singapore, they took like a security amount from us, which was refunded at the end of the program. But that was because we were using their virtual resources. So otherwise, it's a funded program.
They would take care of your accommodation and travel expenses completely.
Okay.
Any other question? Is there anything in the chat box, Karthika?
No.
All right, so I think we're good to move for that.
Yep. Yeah. So the final internship that we'll be talking about is the DAAD-WISE scholarship. WISE stands for Working Internships in Science and Engineering. So basically, it's a funded research internship at a public or state-funded higher education institute in Germany, or it could also be a university research institute in Germany, and it's for a duration of 30 to 90 days. Next slide. So again, the eligibility for applying to DAAD is on paper it's mentioned as a CGPA of 8.5 plus, but it's always recommended to apply for DAAD only if your CGPA as of the fourth sem is above 9.3 to 9.4. Because CGPA is one of the main factors that decides your selection in this particular scholarship. Unlike Mitacs, where they look at your overall profile, and CGPA is not a very important factor, and like all many other internships as well. So a prerequisite for applying to DAAD is to get an acceptance from a German host who's willing to supervise you during the internship. So you're supposed to get an acceptance preferably by the first week of October by mailing professors in various universities in Germany. So here's a short timeline. So once you get the acceptance, you complete the application by getting a few documents that are needed, and by the third week of October, you're done with that, and you need to post a physical copy of your application to the DAAD Delhi office, which will be done by the fourth week of September, and finally the deadline is usually the 1st of November every year for the DAAD-WISE application. Yeah, so since DAAD is like a very elaborate procedure, the mailing, choosing universities, mailing universities, it's like a lot of things involved. We thought we wouldn't have time, and we've included a lot of resources at the end, which you could refer to once you get the PPT. So there have been very comprehensive sessions conducted by our seniors, the batch of 21 and the batch of 20. Many of them extensively cover all the aspects of that. So do go through the resources that will be shared to you at the end. Yeah. Now we'll be opening it. So now we'll be talking about the audience queries, some of which we've already answered, and feel free to post your questions on the chat or ask them.
So I think before we move on to the questions in the chat box, you could just quickly go through them.
Yeah.
So yeah, do these internships require any prior research experience? So I think we can start with Karthika.
Yeah, so regarding whether the candidate needs prior experience, definitely it has a weightage in the whole application. So, but that doesn't mean that if you're able to compensate it with good quality courses and really good CGPA, I don't think you should be afraid to explore these programs. Especially in COVID, I think the committee will understand if you're not able to do research internships during this period. So definitely don't worry. Compensate with the projects, compensate it with courses that you could do during this time.
Okay, so I think we can move to the next one. It's mentioned that the LOR should be from the supervisor who had supervised our work. Okay, I think we've answered this question.
Yeah,
so
we have answered this. Yeah.
Yeah, we can move ahead. So yeah, the tips and tricks to convince a professor for giving an opportunity to work under him.
Yeah, so I'll take this up. So basically, it's 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 not a trick, but main thing is to just present your work in an aesthetic way, and make sure your CV is well crafted, and make sure you communicate your the research that you have done previously, and the the in general what your interests are and what you have done in order to develop those interests and explore those areas. And if you're talking specifically about DAAD, then it's just regular mailing, and you just get to follow certain things that will take a lot of time if explained here. So that's why we've attached resources at the end. So the main thing is to craft your SOP well, communicate your interests and research well when you contact a professor. So
We've gotten a question in the chat box. While
yeah.
seeking research internships, do profs ask for CGPA? Kimaya, do you want to take it up?
Yeah, so the thing is that when we're applying to internships which have portals, like when it comes to NTU or Mitacs, it does ask for the CGPA. The portal itself asks. So we don't necessarily again have to go and tell it to the professor because they have the entire application of ours in front of them. And moreover, the CGPA is very important to be mentioned in the CV as well. So definitely the CGPA is something which is always looked up to or seen or searched for in any document of yours. I hope I took the question in the right sense, or was it different?
Yeah, I think that's what the question meant.
Okay.
And there's another question I see. While mailing German professors, is it mandatory to attach an LOR? No, you just have to attach your CV and in your mail. So the LOR comes much later. That is after you get an acceptance and when you're applying to DAAD. So that you have to take an LOR from a professor in our college. So no, you needn't attach your LOR. Yeah.
Okay, so I think we can move to the next question here. What do the professors and these scholarship schemes look into before giving an internship? So, Karthika, would you take this up?
Yeah, so I guess it's a very general question. It entirely depends on the type of scholarship. So for DAAD especially, they would be looking at your academic performance. That it is like a known fact that DAAD gives a lot of emphasis on the CGPA. For programs like Mitacs and NTU, they look at the holistic. They look at the holistic view of the candidate. So make sure to include, as I think Kimaya mentioned in her presentation, a lot of extracurricular activities, position of responsibilities, and soft skills that would make you stand out in the application. And also the LOR is also a very vital part of the process. Make sure that the LOR presents, a growth, your growth. It shouldn't be like it shouldn't be a compilation of all your achievements, because that would seem fake to the committee who's reviewing the LOR. So make sure that the LOR presents, a natural growth, how the endos came to know about you, how you grew, in the years, over the years. So that's also a very vital part of the application. So LORs plus extracurriculars. Yeah.
Okay, so I think we can move to the next one. If one doesn't have any significant achievements, yeah, I think we've answered this as well. So we'll move to the next one. With a CGPA of 8 plus, are we eligible to apply for Mitacs? In addition to that, do students with a lesser CGPA have chances to get such scholarships? If not, what else can be done?
Yeah. So as I said, Mitacs does not really care about the CGPA, and the minimum criteria is also very less. So most of you will fall under that criteria if you see. And do students with lesser CGPA have chances to get scholarships? Yes, if you choose the right scholarship. So Mitacs is one go-to scholarship program that you can take up even if your CGPA is low, because I don't think I have encountered a single point during my entire process when CGPA was a matter. So it's totally good, and it's a great program as well. And apart from that, you do your research, try to look at other research programs as well, which do not emphasize on your CGPA. And even if you don't get it through a research program, you can always mail professors, and when you do that, you can showcase your research interests, your previous research in a very good way. And if you can also voluntarily ask them to interview you, so that they know your potential. And so mailing also works. So it's not a necessity that you should get it through a scholarship. So there have been many successful internships that were done, that were secured only through mailing. It's been done in the past as well. So you always have a way. So yeah.
Okay. Then the other question we have is, should all the 7 projects that we choose in Mitacs be related to our previous research experience?
Yes, so every project that you choose can be from any field. There is no particular restriction. And also, should it be related to your previous research experience? Preferably yes, but say you had a sudden change of research interests over one semester. It's totally good to explore a new area, but you should just be able to convince in your application that you can learn skills required for that project, or you should exhibit at least a remote connection to your previous research experience and the new area that you want to go to, so that they have some basis on which they can judge your application, right? So your previous experience speaks about your potential. So if that is remotely linked to what you want to do, it's great. So that way you can enhance your chances of selection. But if you really want to explore a new area of research, you should definitely go forward. Yeah. But try to link it to your previous experience somehow. That's it.
All right. So I think the other question we have answered in our
Yeah.
talk about
Yeah.
the 2 LORs. So yeah, what's the uniqueness in NTU India Connect program? Karthika, can you take this up?
Yeah, before that, I think we got a question in the chat box.
Yeah.
Is it, is it advisable to use the same LOR for different programs, or tailor each one according to the program? Kimaya, you can answer this.
The thing is, I would not suggest that method, because it's kind of not ethical to do so. When you write one, like when you get one LOR, it's specifically meant for that particular internship program. So it's always good to tell your professor to provide you another LOR for some other application portal. Before doing that, as Karthika had already mentioned, you can also, like prior to your application process, it's always good to tell your professor from whom you're going to get the LORs as to these are the number of applications you would be doing. So you would need at least 3 LORs or 4 LORs. The professors are not like, they don't say no to that. They'll definitely provide you all 4 LORs. But never try to juggle it like one LOR you yourself change the name. That shouldn't be the case. Generally, even when you get the LOR from your professor, it's in a PDF format, so don't try to tamper that.
And in cases where the LOR is being uploaded by the professor, you really don't know what the final draft is. So and that's the way to do for Mitacs. As I said, it's really a good practice to tell the professor to upload it. That's always better. So in that case, it's not possible to get that final draft. Yeah.
I mean, sometimes if you know the professor too well, he or she will share it with you before uploading. So that is rare case, but that would be nice if they do that. So regarding uniqueness of the program, I think NTU Singapore has only collaborated with India, and it is only catered to Indian students. So no other international student can apply, unlike in Mitacs and DAAD. So it is, I think, a higher chance for us to, uh, explore the research opportunities at NTU Singapore. So everyone should apply for this program.
Okay, so I think we can move to the next one. How different is NTU India selection process from Mitacs? Karthik, I'd like to take it up.
I guess, as Kimaya mentioned in the presentation, NTU projects are not, the list of projects are not as long as Mitacs. You'll have a fewer set of lists, and regarding the number of titles that you have to select, that is also less. For Mitacs, you have to select 7. For NTU, only 3. So these are the small differences.
And I think not I think NTU India also doesn't have like an interview process. Like Mitacs did have one last time. That was not the case with NTU. And I don't think Mitacs also asked for a 5th semester GPA. It was only till the 4th semester CGPA. But NTU India Connect, I think probably the second round of their applications, if they found a candidate of good potential, they have asked for the 5th semester GPA as well. So
and again,
after the
two
as a
rounds
follow-up,
of selection. Yeah, unlike in Mitacs, there are no like 2 rounds of selection for NTU. It's just a final result. And in NTU, they won't publish the list of selected candidates. They'll be mailing you individually. I think that's similar to Mitacs, I guess. So regarding the, we got a question. Does NTU India have CGPA cutoff? Not in my knowledge.
No, it doesn't have like a CGPA cutoff. There have been students who have got the internship with CGPAs like 8.5 or 8.4. But the only thing is you have to be then you need to have like a strong research experience. So if you have done like a lot of projects, then definitely it can compensate for that CGPA of yours as well.
And also, if the internship is done remotely this time for you guys, you can even ask your supervisor, to like work on different projects. At least my professor did. He, he asked me whether I would like to work on another topic, another research project, and so that is, I think, possible in an online setup. Yeah.
Okay, so before we address the other queries, these are the resources guys. So there have been like detailed research internship talks by different organizations of our institute only. So you can always refer to them for any further details because it's difficult to club all of them together and provide like entire detailed information regarding each of the internships. So whatever we felt relevant at this stage, we provided it in the presentation in a very brief manner. But for more detailed information, you can always use these resources, and you can feel free to reach out to us in case of any further queries. So I think we can now open up for the other queries which have come in our chat.
I think we've addressed all of them.
Yeah. Yeah, you're most welcome, Nishant.
Thanks. Thanks for your feedback.
If you all have any follow-up questions on anything, feel free to post it. Thank you, Girish.
Thank you, Harshit.
So if you have any questions, you can always reach out to us as well. And all the best for your applications. I think Mitacs is, the deadline is nearing. So do apply. It's like the best way to start your journey of research internship application, I would say. So do apply.
The link for the PPT is also given in the chat. You guys can go through it. Our email IDs are also at the end of the PPT. For any queries, you guys can email us. We'll be happy to address them.
Yeah, thank you, Divya.
Okay, I guess we can conclude today's webinar.
Yeah. Again, thank you everyone for joining. I think we could wait for a minute if there's any other question to be like a last moment question to be asked. Yeah, I think we're good to conclude. Thank you everyone for joining, and all the best for your internship applications.
All the best.
All the best, everyone. Thank you for joining.